Hello and welcome to Baby Grandad Plays. In this video, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be testing out the GTX 1050 Ti on the new season of Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 4. It will be paired with an i7-7700 and 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM, but if you have 16 gigs, it should still perform about the same. As we've seen in previous seasons, this new season is going to bring some changes into the game, like new weapons, new skins, as well as some changes to the biomes on the current map. But besides all that, that's not why we're here. We are here to find out how this season affects performance on our current gaming setup. Before we get into any actual benchmarking, I found out that having my Fortnite install options set up in this manner gives me a smoother gaming experience overall. Disabling the high resolution textures and enabling the pre-downloaded streamed assets. And if you're only going to be playing in performance mode, you can go ahead and uncheck the DirectX 12 shaders. Please note that because we are playing and recording on the same PC, we're going to lose a few frames when doing these tests, so keep that in mind. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Starting with competitive settings, when jumping from the bus and looking at the entire map, there is noticeable stuttering, with averages around 152 FPS. However, as you approach the ground, the performance stabilizes. Indoors, the averages increase to 182 FPS, with 1% lows of 82 FPS. On the ground, we observe averages of 178 FPS and 1% lows of 80 FPS. Which is impressive if you prioritize high frame rates at the expense of visual fidelity. Moving on to the low settings. Transitioning out of the bus and viewing the map results in some stuttering, with averages around 60 FPS and 1% lows of 35. As usual, approaching the ground normalizes the performance. Gameplay on the ground, the average is 91 FPS with 1% lows of 51. Indoors, the averages rises slightly to 94 FPS with 1% lows dipping down to 47. Moving over to the medium settings. While in the air, the averages drop to 50 FPS with 1% lows plummeting to 16. Definitely rough. Indoors, we see averages of 66 FPS with 1% lows of 40, with actual frames fluctuating between the high 70s and low 80s. Outdoors, gameplay maintains an average of 66 FPS with 1% lows dipping down to 38. The actual frames, however, were ranging from the low 60s to about 70 FPS, delivering a solid experience from the GTX 1050 Ti. Moving on to the high settings. In the air, it's safe to say that the high settings are definitely unplayable. I had forgotten to reset my frame counter, but as shown, FPS drops into the teens with severe stuttering, pushing the CPU to 100% usage. If you are finding value from this video, please do leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment below if the results you are seeing are not the same as what you were getting. Anyway, let's get back. On the ground, the situation doesn't improve much, with averages of 25 FPS and 1% lows of 13 FPS. Playing with these settings is not ideal. I would not recommend it. For my final thoughts, if you want maximum frame rates and don't mind sacrificing visual fidelity, play on competitive settings. this game will still provide all necessary visual information for an enjoyable experience. However, if you prefer a balance between visual quality and a playable frame rate, medium settings are the way to go. You can still achieve over 60 FPS with improved visual fidelity. As for high settings, steer clear. Not only do they result in extremely low frame rates, but they also cause severe stuttering and freezing, almost guaranteeing a poor gameplay experience. In fact, it is a poor gameplay experience. In this case, it's not a skill issue. You definitely get a pass to blame your PC, hey? If you have made it this far into the video, come on, leave a like. I'll wait. Subscribe while you're at it. Check out my other video on Black Myth Wukong on this card right here. See you on the next one. Bye from me.